Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. And today, as you can see in this video, I want to talk to you guys about loving practices and how they are potentially one of the most powerful practices you can do to generate positive emotion, which is essentially what we want to increase unification and to make practice enjoyable and something we really look forward to. Okay. Personally, I started introducing it after I got a bit more concentrated, and I was kind of blown away by the results and pretty much how I can get the tears more surprising than I expected, and that I couldn't even believe that this was how I was experiencing the world sober. And granted, like, I'm maybe slightly boosting, but regardless, and as you can see, it's potentially part of the inspiration of the channel because of I think how powerful this practice is and how accessible it is to, again, your average goer who's just trying to mess around with these a bit more. Okay, so even though I like this idea of getting slightly concentrated beforehand, regardless, loving practices are a path in themselves. It's the path of friendliness, the path of interconnectedness, and it makes sense. If everything really loves you, as we were saying, God is everything outside of ourselves, and God loves us, then why can't everything love us? And why are we afraid? Why do we need a self that's running away from stuff, and so on? So as you can see, it can take you all the way. And it has the big pro of making practice very enjoyable. It, by default, is an enjoyable practice. So when you get distracted and return to the object, which is the loving intention, you end up getting rewarded just coming back. And that's why it can be one of the most efficient and effective techniques. So not only is it very strongly good at generating positive emotion, it is one of the best techniques you can use. Okay? Later on, you might have to play more games, but it can get you very far. And honestly, I think this should be a goal in itself, in my opinion, to a lot of average practitioners. What's the big con? There's one con related to distractions and how this technique can make you, even though it's so enjoyable, in the beginning can be quite hard to stay concentrated. And it's mainly because of the amount of freedom that you have. Okay, so now let's take a break and dive more deeply into how does the practice look like. So I actually recommend you mess around with a lot of guided meditations. Guided loving kindness practices. There's an app called Insight Timer, one of many, and Spotify of course, and YouTube and so on, where you can mess around with 5 to even 15-20 minute guided loving kindness practices, and you can get some idea of what they're all about. Okay, and sprinkle these alongside a more consistent practice, hopefully twice a day, morning, night, and ideally concentration, but regardless, that's what I would recommend. Sprinkle it in. And then once you feel sufficiently concentrated, maybe introduce it as a standalone practice, 20-30 minutes by itself. And that's how I found very strong results and success with it. So now, the technique that I liked using when I was using it more, implementing it more seriously, was something called Tranquil Wisdom Insight Meditation. But I'll just break down the technique. Again, a bunch of stuff in the description. Essentially, the technique uses the 6 R's, which I've mentioned before. When you get distracted, you relax, then you re-smile, and then you return to the object with loving attention and you continue practicing. However, the technique I recommend you do 10 minutes of self-compassion and then 20 minutes onto another individual. This could be a person, it could be a pet, which is what I ideally did, but it's the same person. And ideally, don't pick someone of the opposite gender who you might have sexual feelings for to avoid any messy business, I guess. Okay, so that is essentially what we do. 10 minutes ourselves, 20 minutes them. And the reason why is because this allows us to stay concentrated. Later on, you can end up spreading that love to other people in your family or friends, everyone, your neighbors, and so on. But right now, to get concentrated as a tool, that's a good idea. Even when I was concentrated, I still applied this rule quite rigidly. Okay? Regardless, you don't necessarily have to. You might end up finding a breakdown you like, of some sort, but it just helps. Now I'm going to give you some recommendations on how to go about with the mental talk, okay? Because it can also get quite distracting, and this is what kind of worked for me, okay? There's a lot of things you can do. So I liked saying things like, usually in a string of lines, again, usually connected to my breath, but the goal is to focus on the emotion of love, which sometimes is commonly found in the body in like the chest region. But regardless, I often connected it to my breath in the beginning, and I'd say, connected to my breath, things like, I deserve love. I deserve happiness. I deserve contentment. I deserve joy. I deserve peace. I pick 2 or 3 sentences of those, kind of in repeat, and then I would eventually transition to, I am love, or I am loved. I am happy. I am at peace, or I am peace, and so on. And then continue repeating that. Okay? And it's important to note saying I am the emotion is actually fine, because that's essentially the goal. Don't limit yourself to saying I am happy, or I am loved. That you say I am love itself. Okay? So now that's what I do. I am loved. I deserve love. I am loved. And repeat. Now that we have the mental talk under control, the last tip is to use visualizations. Okay, and these can be quite powerful, but however they should be used sparingly. Again, read in the book, 5% visualizations, 25% mental talk, and 70% actually feeling the emotion. The goal is to feel the emotion. Okay, that's the object, not the breath that you're connecting to it. The emotion. Okay, so, and it's okay to hold your body in peripheral awareness. Again, if that's not clear, check the videos on the book. Now, visualizations can be something like when imagining the idea of contentment or peace. Imagine yourself laying down at a beach with loved ones, having a good time with no worries or stress in the world, a place where you can be more than happy to be there for the rest of your life. Okay, that's the type of visualizations you want. Or imagine a time when you were extremely happy or joyful, potentially for someone else's success. Okay, if you can recall that back in your life. So the reason why you have to be careful with visualizations is that they're taking you quite far away from the object, and they can make you get very distracted very easily. And some traditions actually don't really like visualizations. But the goal here is to generate positive emotion, and visualizations are one of the strongest things you can use. Again, sparingly. In the beginning, it's okay if you use them more liberally. And I imagine guided meditations will use them quite commonly, of course. So I hope you took something from the video. I hope you experiment with loving practices because of how powerful they really can be and how they are genuinely a path on their own. Okay, and again, like the channel shows, it's one of my favorite practices, bar none. Okay, so hope you guys liked the video. Have a great day. Love you guys.